Right now. Okay, welcome everybody. This is the programming week. I guess it's week 5 now. And we've got a lot to cover today in programming, so I'm just going to get right to it. So under programming, it's the CPRP exam is based upon 15 tasks and represents about 20% of the items on the exam. So 20% of the items. So this is a pretty significant chapter as well. And a public, basically our services are typically divided into 3 areas: programs, facilities, and park areas. And then to successfully deliver these services, we must be concerned with the scope and quality within these 3 areas. So we're going to cover those: programs, facilities, and park areas. The recreation programming arm of the agency's operation requires significant time and resources to deliver quality services to residents. So the first section is create recreation programming. Creating new programs and improving existing ones is a major part of many entry-level positions in our field. Programs are created based on current trends in the field, interest in the community, and successes of other agencies, just to name a few. These programs are intended to meet the needs of the community and fill a gap that does not exist. And that's an important point. I'm sure that they're going to ask that. So these programs are intended to meet the needs of the community and to fill a gap that does not exist. In creating recreation programs, we should assess program needs at the community and individual levels, and they call community target population. Primarily, community level data source will be the needs assessment data. And so when we say that we're going to assess these program needs in our community, we're going to use the needs assessment data to be able to be the primary community level data source. In particular, the needs assessment data will provide valid and reliable information on the recreation programming needs and interests for the target population. Typical needs assessment information includes these things, and there's 5 of them. 1 is target market demographic characteristics. 2 is current program participation data, and that would be such as frequency of participation or popular programs, etc. 3 is the attitudes towards current programming. In other words, satisfaction with programming, quality instructors, content, etc. 4 is issues or constraints restricting program participation. And 5 is future programming needs and interest. The individual, now that was for the target or the community. The individual level assessment data is collected and reviewed to determine specific participant needs and interests. Stand by, I'm going to make sure this is correct. Okay, I guess that can be, that data set that I just read can be for both community and individual, it looks like. So individual level assessment data are collected and reviewed to determine specific participant needs and interests. These data can assist us in modifying the recreation program to meet the specific needs of individuals registered for the program. Now, this is an important point. Again, this may not be how we actually do things, but individual level data are collected once participants are registered for a program and allow the instructor to review the program's general curriculum and consider possible adjustments to meet the needs of those enrolled in the class. I think that you might find that we all do it after the class is over, or at least the last class. But they said that this is when it's collected. It's when it's after they've registered and the instructor has had a chance to review the program's general curriculum and consider adjustments to meet the needs of those enrolled in the class. So once the community and individual level data assessment has been completed, the program plan and development are initiated. The plan should identify a program or programs and provide an outline that is custom tailored to the identified needs of the individuals served. Depending on the agency, the specific content of the program will vary, but these are a list of likely components to be included. And there's 5 of them. The 5 are assessment, goals, objectives, implementation strategies, and outcome evaluation plan. So the first one is assessment. And this is information regarding the target's population condition. Why they have a need or interest in the program is included in the plan. In addition, the summary results of the assessment process, including a listing of the participants' abilities, strengths, and problems and needs, will be required. Under goals, this is information taken from the assessment, and it's used to develop goal statements. Goal statements are the desired outcomes obtained from the Goals are statements of the desired outcomes obtained from participating in the program. Both short-term and long-term goals should be developed. Under objectives, these are guided by the goal statements. Basically, you develop measurable objectives. Typically, at least 4 objectives are developed for each goal. And the objectives that are developed serve as the primary indicators of goal accomplishment. And then you have implementation strategies. And these are the type of programs and services that the individuals will participate in, and how they will participate in them are specified in this section of the plan. Key considerations that should be specified include the leadership techniques to be used, appropriate precautions that must be exercised with the participants being served, if this is applicable, financials, equipment supplies, the length of each session, and the number of sessions thought to be needed or to achieve the program's objectives. And then you have the outcome evaluation plan. This is a description and plan for measuring the effect or outcome of the program, and the plan should contain detailed information regarding the assessment procedures used to evaluate the participants and the program. Additional details about the content of the program plans are provided in an earlier chapter. Let's see, let me make sure, 6L, stand by. Let me make sure that I know where that is. Okay, disregard that. In addition, there are other features that must be included in some program plans. First, the plan must be compatible with the agency's overall programming philosophy and resources. It must be doable in the agency, and in addition, the program plan should provide evidence of collaboration between the participants, instructors, and the program's content. And that concludes the section on creating recreation programming. The next one is supervised recreation programming. And this one is basically states that much of our time is consumed by supervising programs that are created. There are 2 basic types of program operation supervision. That's specific and general. In addition to the program supervision, special events have a different level of supervision in their implementation. So, specific supervision. Specific supervision involves observing, overseeing, and managing the conduct of a specific activity, facility, or program. Lifeguarding is an example at an aquatic facility, or providing direct leadership of an activity is another one. Specific supervision assumes a staff member with more training in the activity being conducted, as well as closer supervision of the activity as it is conducted. Individuals conducting instructional classes will usually be engaged in specific supervision. Individuals with regulatory responsibilities over individuals in high-risk environments like lifeguards at swimming pools or rink guards at an ice rink will also provide specific supervision. When engaged in specific supervision, the park and recreation professional is expected to provide the following level of services, and there's 4 of them. And this is for specific supervision. 1, provide correct, competent instruction and/or direction to the activity. 2, oversee the behavior and practices of participants, intervene and regulate behavior to ensure safe participation and a safe environment for the activity. 3, conduct safety inspections for and remove obvious hazards to ensure a safe environment for participation. And number 4, respond to traumatic events as warranted and render appropriate assistance required. Then there's general supervision. In general supervision of recreation programs assumes less of a hands-on approach. General supervision typically does not include activity instruction. Rather, general supervision is primarily concerned with on-site supervision of recreation services and programs. For example, a Parks and Recreation professional might periodically visit a weekly youth basketball program to monitor program staff, instructional content, and facility conditions. Although the Parks and Recreation professional supervises the weekly youth basketball program, he or she does not provide direct instruction to the participants. When engaged in general supervision, we have to achieve 3 goals. The first one is ensure the program is actually being conducted. Because our programs require a great deal of planning coordination, the Park and Recreation professional must verify the successful operation of the program. The second one is to observe program operations to make sure they are being delivered as intended by the agency at a level of quality desired by the agency. Issues ranging from poor staff performance to facility problems are addressed during these observations. Often these observations also include contact with program participants. The next one is to observe program staff. This is to gain information to be used in evaluating the performance of staff. These observations allow the Parks and Recreation professional the opportunity to provide on-site verbal feedback to staff, such as strong performance, weak performance, areas of concern, etc., while still even identifying possible training needs for staff. The next little subsection here is special events supervision. Special events are often described as a one-time or infrequently occurring activity outside the normal programs offered by us. Examples of events include holiday celebrations, festivals, cultural celebrations, music concerts, and athletic tournaments. Despite the diverse special event themes, All special events require a great deal of planning and supervision to ensure that the goals of the special event are met. Now, under this section, under supervision, they also have work plans and checklists. So, to supervise a special event, the park and recreation professional needs to develop a work plan. The purpose of the work plan is there's 4 items: manage the wide range of tasks that must be accomplished to execute the event, generate a timeline for the task, create a budget for the task, and place priorities on the task. The work plan should serve as a guide in the development of a checklist for the day of the event. This will provide the Parks and Recreation professional with a list of tasks to supervise during the event. Although each event is unique, several common tasks exist and should be included on almost every checklist. And here they are. And this is a special event supervisory task checklist. Ensure, and there's a whole bunch of them, so I'm just going to go through them. Ensure all equipment and signs are at the proper location. Check the trash receptacles and restrooms facilities frequently. Set up information and registration booth. Display the permit on site. Post the site map. Test communication equipment to make sure it's working correctly. Ensure that all areas are staffed. Brief security and police on elements of the event and location of key areas such as first aid, lost children headquarters. Coordinate cash pickup with security personnel. Secure sufficient change for cash box. Supervise delivery and setup of all equipment. Inspect portable toilets areas frequently. Supervise teardown of equipment and booths. Inspect the event site to ensure it is left in better condition than when the event started. Maintain security until people are gone. Ensure that all trash, including wastewater and grease, is picked up and properly disposed. Arrange to thank staff, volunteers, sponsors. Prepare a written evaluation and financial statement. That was the last one. So supervision of these types of programs, events requires that an appropriate number and appropriately skilled staff are on site to monitor activities. Programs such as day camps and after-school programs will require a specific child-to-leader ratio. These are set by the agency itself or entities such as the American Camp Association. These skills needed by staff will vary with the activity as well. High-risk outdoor adventure activities will require different skills and experience than a senior trip to a museum. A clear plan for staffing needs and skills should be outlined in the program event plan. And that concludes the section on supervised recreation programming. Okay. The next section is comply with reporting requirements for programs. And this is the area where we're going to have statistics. So we have to assure that programs under our supervision comply with applicable standards and reporting requirements to ensure that the proper records and statistics are on file with the agency. The authority behind standards, records, and reports may be agency policy, an accrediting agency, or law. What a standard report or record requires is usually explicitly stated. However, an agency reporting requirements to demonstrate compliance will often take many forms and will have varying reporting timeframes. So the first section they're going to talk about is standards and then reports, followed by records. Under standards, the types of standards that may apply to the operation of a park, recreation, and leisure, service, facility, activity, event, or program are too numerous to detail here. Here, what I'm going to cover is an illustrative list of standards that could apply, but is not intended to be exhaustive of all possibilities. So the first one is the Environmental Protection Agency standards. And this applies to emissions or the use of hazardous materials, the review of an environmental impact of a new park, areas and facilities, and other similar operational issues. The next one is state, county, or municipal health codes. And they specify standards for the operation of swimming pools, concession facilities, restroom areas, etc. State or municipal life safety and fire codes. And these specify room seating capacities, the number of exits that must be available in facilities, how escape plans must be developed, and how often fire drills must be conducted, for example. Agencies, accrediting bodies, or specific regulatory statutes may specify the leader or participant ratios that must be maintained in a wide variety of program operations, swimming pool operations, and staffing requirements for other types of services. Then you have life safety codes or specific pieces of legislation, and these may regulate the minimum temperatures that must be maintained in buildings. For example, most states have regulations governing child care facilities that must be met by parks and recreation agencies that operate latchkey after school programs. And then finally, the National Parks and Recreation Park Association publishes a series of parks and recreation facility standards, some of which agencies adopt to guide their operations. Other agencies develop their own standards that are custom tailored to the unique needs of their community. Just one point on standards, they had a couple of examples here that are actually law and some are standards. So like Environmental Protection Agency or health codes or life safety codes, those are actual laws, where the National Park and Recreation Association would be a standard. They're calling all of these standards, so just so you know. And the way that something, it's been my experience in government many years, that the way a standard becomes a law, if you will, is through litigation. So if a court orders something, there's a judgment in favor of the standard, then it becomes more aligned with law, and then eventually becomes law. But for the purposes of the test, they're all standards. Two types of maintenance standards now, we're talking about maintenance standards, are often adopted by agencies. A maintenance standard classification system or productivity standards. So let me repeat that. So two types of maintenance standards are often adopted by agency. It's either a maintenance standard classification system or productivity standards. And it could be and or. The maintenance standard classification system establishes different levels of maintenance that will be applied to specific park areas or facilities. There are a wide variety of productivity standards for maintenance functions. Many other standards exist as well, including accessibility standards that are required by the ADA that are discussed elsewhere in this guide. To summarize this section, there are many types of standards that may govern the operation of parks and recreation services. In all cases, the Parks and Recreation professional is responsible for knowing the standard and overseeing the agency's compliance with it. The next section is reports. The magnitude of reporting responsibility will depend on the agency in which the park and recreation professional is employed. A variety of reports for planning and evaluating recreation programs may be required. In all cases, we should complete the reports thoroughly, accurately, and on time. The following are some of the reports that may typically be used to manage and document the operation of recreation services. I'm going to read them first. Program plan, supply requisition, reservations, maintenance work order, contractual services, accident reports, incident reports, and evaluation after action reports. Okay, under program plan, that was the first one. This is a proposal, program proposal form, or a program plan, and it often must be completed and approved by a supervisor before the plan may be operated. This requirement may be tied to the agency's budget and designed in part to ensure that the program is financially sound. Revenues for a program should match or exceed its expenses, or there are sufficient funds in the budget to pay for the program. In addition, these forms often require the explanation of the complete program design and method of operation. The details of the program, complete program design and method of operation. The next one is supply requisition. And these are basically materials and supplies needed to operate the program and may be obtained by filling out internal requisition forms, a purchase order to external vendors, or soliciting bids for the item. Obtaining supplies from external vendors can be a long process, and you must anticipate the need for supplies well in advance of the operation of a program. Reservations. Obtaining space to operate a program frequently requires a file reservation form. So in other words, you have to go through a reservation process in order to get your room. If a program is being operated in space owned by the agency, this must only require booking the space with a phone call or an internal form of the agency's own design. Booking space with external agencies often requires a lengthier and more involved process that must be completed well in advance of the operation of the program. Maintenance work orders. Maintenance support that may be needed to operate a program often must be requested on a work order. This could include the delivery and setup of equipment, the takedown of equipment, and or a special cleaning of the venue. Contractual services. The Parks and Recreation professional often contracts for services the agency is not capable of delivering. Examples of this could include entertainment acts, catered food, league officials, etc. Obtaining these services usually requires requisitioning them on a purchase order or obtaining them through a bid solicitation process. Next is accident reports. And they're to be filed on all accidents and are to be completed immediately after an accident occurs. This is usually the first responsibility after an accident victim has been properly cared for and the area where the accident occurred returned to a safe condition or otherwise secured. How accident reports are completed is important. The wording used should describe what occurred without making cause and effect assumptions or admissions of guilt. It is likely these will become part of any legal action that follows the accident and must be prepared with this eventuality in mind. Obtaining the complete names, addresses, and phone numbers of individuals who witnessed the accident is usually required. It is normal practice to forward accident reports immediately to the supervisor and administrative staff in the agency. Okay, the next little section is under reports is incident reports. And these are often required for all incidents other than accidents with injuries that occur at a given venue. These can include customer complaints, records of behavior problems, or other incidents that need to be documented. Here in Gilbert, we don't use them for customer complaints or behavior problems. We only do accidents. Evaluation accident. So remember that these are incident reports or other than accidents in the book. Evaluation after action reports. After a program is completed, the Parks and Recreation professional may be required to complete a post-operation report. These require different amounts and types of information depending on the agency. One may be required to report any or all of the following: attendance data, evaluation of the activities conducted, a formal evaluation report, an assessment of how well the goals and objectives of the program were accomplished, documentation of program outcomes, a financial report, and recommendations about the disposition of the program in the future. One is usually expected to also make recommendations for improving future operations of the program. And then the last section under comply with reporting requirements is records. Agencies will have policies and procedures that outline what records to keep on various aspects of agency operations. This could include hourly head counts in fitness facilities, drop-in use numbers, program success rates, the number of accidents at each facility or within each program area, and numerous financial records. The same policy will dictate who is to keep the records, when they are to be submitted, and how long the data should be kept. And the purpose behind keeping these records is to show agency performance over time. Being able to tell the community the number of people served, the program hours per year, the number of volunteer hours given to the agency, or even the number of flowers planted each year are considered performance measures. They can be used to show areas of improvement in terms of accident and incident reports, or show increased demand for facilities. Facility and program use data then can be used to potentially justify the need for new facilities, renovation, or expanded programs. While standards, records, and reports may seem to be bothersome and technical, they serve a very important purpose in the proper functioning of the agency. And that concludes the reporting section. It's very unfortunate they just turned the air conditioner off in my building. I guess it's time to go home. Okay, so 5D is develop programs, purpose, goals, and objectives for a variety of age groups. So programs are given form and direction through the development of the program's purpose, goals, and objectives. It is important to point out that completing this work thoroughly is the first step in planning programs and events. So the purpose statement. This is a statement of purpose, and it provides a rationale for why the agency is developing a program in the first place. A rationale is a justification that is so complete and self-explanatory that further accounting is not necessary. We should only offer services that are implied or included within the bounds prescribed by our mission and vision statement. The purpose statement should be logically derived from the agency's mission or vision statement, providing conceptual linkage to it, and thereby providing a rationale for offering the program. Purpose statements can also be used to justify budget expenditures and inclusion of the program as an offering by the agency. So here's a example of a purpose statement. It is, to provide a comprehensive athletic program for athletes with disabilities in order to teach and improve their skills and provide them the opportunity to participate in league and tournament play. From this statement, it is clear what the program offered is intended to do and why it's being created. Okay, then there's goals. Goals are, for the program, are clear general statements about what an agency wishes to accomplish within a program. There are essentially two categories of goals: program management and behavioral. Program management goals specify the management actions needed to implement the program, and behavioral goals establish the behavioral outcomes that will result from participating in the program. So here are some management and behavior outcome goals. And so a management goal example, again, which was specify the management actions needed to implement the program. Here's three examples. To operate a volleyball instructional clinic for adults 30 to 45 years of age with at least 100 participants. Another example is to secure sponsorship so that the volleyball program can be offered free of charge. And then another example is to increase the drop-in use of volleyball courts across the city. Now, behavioral outcome, this is what the result from participating in the program. So one is to improve participant serving skills, two, to improve the participants' knowledge of volleyball rules, and three is to increase the participants' ability to set shots. So both types of these goals are important, but behavioral outcome goals for participants are critical if the park and recreation professional is intending to use the goals and are supporting objectives for documenting the efficacy of a program service. The value. I would rather use the value of a program service. Now, the next one is objectives. In addition, goals are given further refinement through the development of supporting objectives. And these are specific measurable statements that lead to the accomplishment of the goal. Each goal will have approximately 2 to 4 associated objectives that will detail how the goal is to be accomplished. Remember, 2 to 4. Completing the objectives will lead to satisfactory achievement of the goal. A well-written objective will address 4 things: audience, who's involved in the objective; behavior, what will be accomplished; condition, how the objective will be accomplished; and degree, when the objective will be accomplished. Here's an example of a properly written objective. All participants will follow all rules of golf that were learned from reading the rule book during the end of class tournament. And so they might have you pick out the audience, the behavior, the condition, and the degree on each one of those in that sentence. So I'm going to tell you what they are. So all participants, that's the audience. That's who's involved in the objective. It's all participants. Will follow all rules of golf, and that's behavior, that were learned from reading the rule book, and that's the condition. That's how the objective will be accomplished. During the end of class tournament, which is the degree, and that's when. So this objective is specific and measurable. It is clear on what needs to be accomplished in order to achieve the goal associated with it. Keep in mind that the purpose statement outlines the agency's rationale for operating the program. The goal statement specifies some of the global outcomes and directions that the program will take. And the objectives provide the detail on how the goals will be accomplished and the purpose achieved. This is how they would all work together. And so the purpose is to provide a comprehensive athletic program for athletes with disabilities in order to teach and improve their skills and provide them with the opportunity to participate in league and tournament play. The goal is to create a volleyball program where athletes develop skills to compete in the Special Olympics. The objective: develop a 1-hour volleyball clinic for children with disabilities that focuses on exposing participants to basic volleyball skills taught by experienced coaches. Those registering for the volleyball team will practice once per week to develop skills needed to compete in the Spring Special Olympics regional tournament. So that's how they all work together. Within this section, they talk about working with a variety of age groups. So it's no secret that as people age, they change physically, cognitively, socially, and programs need to be selected or adapted to meet the changes of the people experience. Activities should be planned that are developmentally appropriate for the age group, and this means also offering programs targeted at specific age groups rather than a wide range of ages together. This is most important, especially when working with children. Depending on activity, a 5-year-old and a 13-year-old should not be included in the same group. Their abilities and interests are far different at those stages of life. When selecting activities and leading groups, consider 3 domains of learning. Okay, here are the 3 domains of learning: psychomotor, cognitive, and affective. A-F-F-E-C-T-I-V-E. Psychomotor abilities are the physical skills and movement abilities of the individual, such as a 3-year-old develops fine motor skills, and a 25-year-old should have these skills already developed. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. Activity choices and skill progression within activities should reflect the group's psychomotor skills. The next one is cognitive abilities, refers to one's intellectual knowledge. Complex activities with extensive rules would be best experienced by adults rather than small children. Games with many rules may be adapted to meet the cognitive abilities of the players. And then the last one was affective skills. That refers to the attitudes, values, and social pursuits of the individuals. Consider the affective skills of adolescents compared to older adults. Adolescents are very much connected to their peer groups and take on the values and attitudes of the peers, whereas older adults have established their affective skills and are not as tightly tied to their peer groups. This social connection can impact participation in programs. There are a number of models on human development that exist. Understanding how people progress and avoiding stereotypes can make programs more successful. And that concludes develop program, purpose, goals, and objectives for a variety of age groups. All right, we're doing good. So the next one is develop schedules for leagues, programs, and facilities. And this is a huge section, so settle in. Okay, so we're often responsible for scheduling recreation programs, leagues, and facilities. Scheduling involves several different elements and can be quite challenging to manage. These elements include time and day of week, scheduling multiple facilities, religious holidays, staff supervision, league scheduling, and league scheduling. Okay, so we're going to go with the first one, time and day of week. So, as you can probably guess, it's essential to select a time and day that allows those interested to be able to participate in the programs. Meeting the scheduling needs of everyone is impossible, but having an understanding of the community and its needs helps to determine optimal times for programs and leagues. Here are some strategies to enhance scheduling for leagues, programs, and facilities. And they give 4 strategies. Number 1, consider the seasonality of programs and facilities such as outdoor pools and golf courses in colder climates. These facilities and associated programs will not be offered year-round, while other programs such as fitness classes and art classes may be offered each season. There may be parts of facilities such as clubhouses that would make for optimal programming space during the off-season. Second one is conduct a needs assessment. We already talked about that last week, to determine when people want programs. Using a trial and error approach is often not the most cost-effective means of scheduling. Many resources may be wasted before the appropriate time and day are selected. The third one is know the community and any major issues that could impact participation, such as religion and local school functions. Understanding the community requires knowing matters such as when the older population prefers to participate in certain activities. Some communities will be able to run programs for this group all day and into the evening, whereas others will only be able to attract people from 8 o'clock a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. Furthermore, good programmers will know such things as the school schedule and when children are out of classes for the day, vacations, and for the summer. The last one is to have a knowledge of specific target markets that may be a viable audience and schedule programs to meet their needs. An example is homeschool children who have more freedom for programs during the day. Work with these groups to determine optimal scheduling. Okay. The next one in this section is scheduling multiple facilities. So if an agency has multiple facilities and multiple rooms, scheduling can be more challenging, with issues that may border on being political or competitive in nature. Programmers want prime space for their programs, and sometimes there can be competition for which programs will take priority. Here are some strategies to enhance the scheduling for facilities. And there's 7 of them. So the first one is place programs in facilities that are located closest to where the target market lives or works. The closer a person is to the facility, the more likely they will be willing to use it. Consider where people live, work, and play. Programs do not always have to be placed near the participant's home. If the program offered after work, the facility, if it is a program offered after work, the facility near major businesses may be the ideal location for a program. Then consider the room size, amenities, and equipment needed for the program, and then schedule accordingly. It is often inefficient to move equipment from one facility to another or from room to room. In addition, using a large room for a small class with minimal needs may not be the best choice if another larger class could fill that space and a smaller space was available for the class. Also, establish priorities for facilities and space. Especially in public agencies, there may be high demands on space from both the agency itself and outside entities such as the local schools and nonprofit agencies. Establishing a policy to determine who has priority is essential, and this priority system may vary depending on the time and day and week. A facility might have its highest priority the neighboring school's physical education classes from 8 to 3, and then the after-school program from 3 to 5:30. In addition, the priority schedule A deadline for requesting space is needed. Using the previous example, the school needs to request the space by a specific deadline each season. If they are not using the gym for a specific time period, the next highest priority for that space can get that space. No group should be given full use of a time block only to have the facility set empty in case they don't want to use it. Also, consider whether the noise and traffic levels of the participant may disrupt another class. You don't want to put a drumming class next to a yoga class, for example. Transitioning between programs can be quite noisy in the hallways as well, so make sure you check that. Consider bundling or blocking classes. So know the program users and what programs they want for themselves and their families. Offering an adult fitness class and a youth art class at the same time may be enticing for families. Parents and children can take classes at the same time, avoiding the need for childcare and increasing attendance at both the adult and child classes. Use caution in scheduling all programs for the same target market at the same time. Having all fitness classes in a 2-hour block could prevent people from taking multiple classes. Spreading them out over a period of times and days could enhance registration. Tradition of location is another one. It's always been in this room. It's not a good method of assigning rooms. Logic and need are much better scheduling criteria. Next, we'll talk about religious holidays. Knowing the community can help an agency understand the need to schedule around religious holidays. There are many different religions in North America, and avoiding all religious holidays is impossible. However, knowing the predominant religions and the holidays to avoid is a good practice. And be careful not to assume that everyone is Christian and observes the traditional Christian holidays such as Easter and Christmas. Staff supervision. Staff supervision can impact scheduling. If budget or other issues affect the number of staff available at a facility, this can also dictate the room location of programs. If there's not enough staff to supervise the entire facilities, some rooms may need to sit empty rather than have sufficient supervision. And the last one is league scheduling, the most thankless job in Parks and Rec. Leagues and tournaments will be the most impacted by the number of fields available. So now we're talking about fields as a facility. The number of teams in the league or tournament, the type of tournament or league play involved, and staff scheduling. Another factor can be the location of fields. For example, softball fields in a residential neighborhood should have games concluded at specific times, such as 10 o'clock due to traffic, field lights, and noise. When school gyms are used, gameplay may end based on the desire of the school. Scheduling programs and leagues is both an art and a science. It requires juggling a multitude of elements, and it can be positively and negatively impacted by an individual's ability to be highly organized and able to handle multiple requests and priorities. Okay. So that concludes the section on develop program purpose, goals, and objectives for a variety of age groups. The next one is evaluate participant satisfaction and program outcomes. Okay, we're doing pretty good here. I'm hoping we're going to get done tonight. I've got to get some water. Hold on. So evaluating is judging the worth of something. In delivering recreation services, there are several components of service delivery that can be evaluated, including its long-term or short-term impact, participant satisfaction with the content and process of delivery, the knowledge, skills, and abilities that were learned during the operation, components of its marketing mix, including price, promotion, place, and product, and other factors. It is usually not possible to evaluate all of these features in one evaluation. In order to develop a user-focused evaluation, the Parks and Recreation professional must determine who will be the primary information user and what information they believe is important to collect for evaluating the program. Answering these questions will provide direction about which service components should be evaluated. Currently, there is considerable interest in the field in outcome-based evaluation. This is a method of evaluation that documents the outcomes of participating in recreation and leisure programs. Usually, the outcomes of interest are the development of specific behaviors which may result from participating in the program. For example, a program designed to increase physical activity in older adults may hope to see an increase in the amount of time spent on specific activities such as walking or swimming. Data may be gathered to analyze a program's effectiveness, impact, or cost benefits. A program is effective to the extent that the stated outcomes or intended benefits of participation are achieved. I think you better read that one again. A program is effective to the extent that the stated outcome or intended benefits of participation are achieved. The impact of a program is the extent to which the targeted market was served and the degree to which the program made a difference compared to other programs or no program. So I'm going to repeat that one. The impact of a program, that's not a program effectiveness, which is the one I just read. This is the impact of a program, is the extent to which the targeted market was served and the degree to which the program made a difference compared to other programs or no program. Finally, calculating the cost benefits of a program is done to quantify the cost of each unit of outcome or benefit produced. These data are used to judge whether or not the benefit achieved was worth what it cost, and to also have data for use in comparing the relative cost benefits of various programs. Formative and summative evaluations are the two primary types of evaluation used in the field of Parks and Recreation. In general, the difference between the two types of evaluation is found in the timing of the evaluation relative to the event being evaluated. Additionally, the role that each of these two types of evaluation fulfills is different. So we're going to go over formative evaluation first. The formative evaluation is conducted while a program is being operated. Its primary role is to provide ongoing feedback while a program is being implemented. Evaluation techniques that are used often focus on implementation process, the performance and interaction techniques used by program leaders, what participants believe they are getting out of the program, and participant satisfaction with the program at a given point in time. The information obtained is used to improve the current program and to make certain all of the assumptions about the activities and leadership techniques designed into the program are correct and helping to achieve the program's goals. Formative evaluation, as the name implies, is used to form and shape a program while it's being implemented or operated. Thus, formative evaluation data will help improve the current session of a program. So that formative evaluation will help improve the program while it's being conducted. Summative evaluation is like a summary. It's conducted at the end of a program. Its primary role is to help document a program's outcome and impact to funding agencies and other audiences. A well-conducted summative evaluation will also provide data that will help determine if a program should be continued, modified, or dropped from the agency's inventory of program services. In cases where a modification is necessary, a summative evaluation will provide insight into the modifications that are needed. And these are usually more comprehensive than formative evaluations and can actually include the results of the formative evaluation because it's at the end and should be included in the comprehensive program report. The next one is to develop program evaluation tools. When developing a program evaluation tool, the park professional must be concerned with three issues: reliability, validity, and the tool's usability. Here's a description of each one of these. And this is when developing a program evaluation tool. These are the three issues. Reliability. This is the consistency with which an evaluation tool yields a certain result when the participants being measured have not changed. So reliability answers the questions, is the evaluation tool consistent? Would the tool produce similar results if it was used again? All things being equal, of course. Validity. Validity of a program evaluation tool is the extent to which the tool measures what it is supposed to measure. There are three forms of validity: construct, content, and face. So the first one is construct. Validity is concerned with whether or not the evaluation tool is measuring the specific construct or attribute of the program. Content validity refers to the actual content of the evaluation tool. Content validity answers the question, is the content on the evaluation tool measuring what it's supposed to be measuring? Stand by. Oftentimes, content validity is achieved through the use of expert reviews of the evaluation tool. Finally, face validity refers to, that's FACE by the way, refers to whether the evaluation tool taken at face value appears to measure what it's supposed to measure. Tips to improving the reliability and validity of evaluation tools include having clear instructions, well-written items, pilot testing the instrument, such as administer the instrument to a smaller group to get feedback prior to implementing it to the entire group, and then ensuring the instrument is appropriate for individuals completing it. And the last one is usability. And in addition to the evaluation tool's reliability and validity measures, we must be concerned with the tool's usability. How easy is the evaluation tool to complete? Is it confusing or unclear to the respondents? Are the items on the evaluation tool useful in evaluating the program? Tips to improve the usability of an evaluation tool include paying close attention to the length of time required to complete the instrument. Most instruments should be completed in 15 minutes or less. Also, ensure that the instrument is easy to complete. Make sure that the instrument is cost-effective to administer, and confirming that the results are easy for the staff to analyze and interpret. The next little section under here is quantitative and qualitative evaluations. Evaluations, whether they are summative or formative, that might be summative. I don't know how to pronounce that word properly. Can be either quantitative or qualitative in nature. The types of questions asked and the data needed will dictate which method is chosen. Okay, ready? So quantitative evaluation, that's the first one, is generally concerned with obtaining information about relationships among the variables with the purpose of explaining, predicting, or controlling phenomenon. This is statistics right here, folks. To address these questions, quantitative data collection techniques are often focused on converting respondents' thoughts, attitude, or opinions into numbers. The assignment of number values to each item and their value on the evaluation tool allows Parks and Recreation professionals to statistically analyze the results, compute averages, comparisons, etc. Some examples of quantitative evaluation tools are, here's the first one, head counts. And head counts is one of the most widely used data collection techniques. And it involves just simply counting participants in attendance at an event or program. Another less common technique involves the use of some other unit participation measurements, such as participant hours or participant days. The next one is surveys. Probably the most common method currently used by us is surveys or questionnaires. And they consist of written items regarding the program event and can be administered to a larger number of people in a relatively quick manner, and are typically administered in one of the following ways. One, you give the survey to the participants and have them fill it out. Two, you mail the survey to the participants. And you would also often include a self-addressed stamped envelope for ease of return. Number three, conduct the survey through email, a website, or other electronic medium. Four, conduct the evaluation over the phone. Or five, present the questions on paper to a group of participants all at once. Items on a survey are presented in two formats. They're either open-ended or closed-ended questions. Open-ended can be answered in a number of ways. They're very similar to essay questions on an examination, where no predefined answers are provided. An example, in general, what are your opinions regarding the location of the fitness center? That's an example of an open-ended question. Closed-ended, they provide a set of possible responses, and the respondent is asked to choose one or more of these responses. Depending on the item, some closed-ended questions will contain a neutral or other where they are asked to specify the response category. This response category works well with questions about certain recreation activities, as some respondents might not find their activity of interest within the supplied responses. When designing a survey, look for ways to enhance the instrument's reliability, validity, and usability. Efforts to improve these issues can also increase response rates and enhance the professional quality of the survey. The following is a list of guidelines for the parks for us to consider when designing a survey. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of them, 16 to be exact. Number one, avoid jargon, slang, and abbreviations that we would use, but the public may not know, like REC. Two, avoid ambiguity, confusion, and vagueness in the questions. Three, avoid emotional language. Four, avoid bias, such as, please rate this popular program on a scale of, that's a good one. Five is avoid double-barrel questions that ask two things within one question. Was the program fun and well-organized? That's a double-barrel question. You don't want those. Six, avoid leading questions, such as, don't you agree that the instructor should earn more money than they currently earn? Seven, avoid questions that are beyond the respondent's skills and competence and which will require a very high level of accuracy, such as, did the instructor have all the skills of a professional artist? Eight is provide clear and concise directions for each section of the questionnaire. Nine, use a 10 to 12 point font. 10, use simple vocabulary and grammar to minimize confusion. 11, be cautious regarding the effects of specific words or phrases. 12, start the survey with non-threatening, easy questions to put the respondent at ease. 13, demographic questions should go at the end of the survey. 14, pay close attention to the amount of white space, in other words, blank space on a page in the survey. 15, when appropriate, create sections to the survey by grouping similar questions or items. So group items with similar response categories. And they refer to the Likert scale, semantic differentials, etc. I don't think you really need to know those. You can look them up if you want to, as Likert scale and semantic differentials. And then 16 is allow adequate space for responses to open-ended questions. Now, qualitative research is typically used to answer questions about the complex nature of phenomena, often with the purpose of describing and understanding the phenomenon from the participant's point of view. Qualitative procedures often produce rich descriptions, and in contrast to quantitative procedures, which produce number-based data. Basically, the qualitative uses words They use words to explain the data versus numbers from quantitative procedures and measures. So data collection often involves several sources, such as participants, instructors, parents, coaches, etc. Some of the most common qualitative data collection techniques are observations and interviews. Observations involve obtaining data by watching participants in their natural setting. There are two types of observations, participant and non-participant. With participant observations, the program evaluator is involved in the program while collecting data. The purpose is to allow the evaluator to gain insights and develop relationships that require an active, trusting rapport with the participants. And then non-participants involve the program evaluator observing and recording behaviors without interacting or participating in the setting. From either approach, the program evaluator makes in-depth observations about his or her experience and documents what was observed. Common elements to observe include issues surrounding participants' behaviors and comments, the setting, and spectators' behaviors and comments. Next one is interviews. Interviews involve purposeful interactions between two or more people focused on the program evaluator, trying to get information from the other person, such as the participant, parent, or instructor. Although time-consuming, interviews permit the exploration and probing of participants' thoughts to get more in-depth information related to the program. In general, there are two forms of interviews used in program evaluation: formal structured and informal unstructured. So in general, there are two forms of interviews used in program evaluation: formal structured and informal unstructured. Formal structured interviews involve a specific set of questions that have been predetermined by the evaluator and are formally asked of all respondents. An informal, unstructured interview is a casual, informal conversation that allows the program evaluator to discover where the participants are coming from, like what they think, and what they've experienced. A list of strategies for interviewing are provided here. Here you go. Ready? Listen more, talk less. Follow up on what participants say and ask questions when you don't understand. Avoid leading questions. Do not interrupt. Learn how to wait. Keep participants focused and ask for concrete details. And then do not debate participants over their responses. Okay, now we're going to talk about focus groups. Focus groups in program evaluation often consist of 8 to 12 individuals who have been assembled based on the pre-selected criteria. The group is assembled to provide varying perspectives on a topic related to the program. The focus group meetings should be kept informal, and the role of the program evaluator is to facilitate the discussion. The next one is public meetings. The agency can hold an open forum and invite the general public to present ideas or plans. The public will then give feedback on what was presented. And then another one is review of documents and/or records. Completed on a regular basis, this technique involves the review of materials pertinent to the program. These materials could include brochures, registration forms, financial reports, participation trends, memos, etc. Triangulation is a term they use in the book here, and it involves using multiple sources of data, such as interviews with staff, participants, and spectators, and/or data collection techniques, like interviews, observation, focus groups, in search of, quote-unquote, the truth, relative to what is being evaluated. This technique allows us to obtain a holistic view of the program from a variety of sources and perspectives. Triangulation also requires considerable resources, time, staff, and money to conduct. Okay, the next one is, stand by for a second. Okay. The next one is comprehensive program report. And the Parks and Recreation professional is often expected to produce a final comprehensive report about the operation of a program. Purposes for preparing this document can include accountability and documentation of agency outputs, financial accountability, a historical record of activities conducted in an agency, or to serve as a guide for the next implementation of the service. There are specific sections included in such a report, and they'll vary from agency to agency, but these are often expected. The title, the administrative location, the purpose, goals, and objectives, the design and implementation procedures, financial data, staffing plan, evaluation data, and recommendations for future operation. So, the title of the program, that's pretty obvious. Administrative location is the administrative unit or division that operated the program, such as maybe adult classes or aquatics, something like that. Purpose, goals, and objectives. These provide a rationale for why the agency operated the program in the first place, how it's helped implement the agency's mission, what the outcomes or benefits were intended for the participants. And then design implementation procedures, specify the plan for animating and operating the program. This section should be sufficiently detailed so that different personnel can duplicate the program when it's operated again. Financial data, of course, that's important. A report on the financial performance of the program will be included in this section. The specific data required here will vary depending on the financial objectives of the agency, whether or not it's subsidized or a nonprofit or a profit-making organization. Regardless of the objective, the report will need to reveal how well the financial performance matched the forecast that was initially budgeted. Then in addition, some agencies include an efficiency measure in this section to use in comparing the relative cost of one program over another. Staffing plan, how many and what classification of employees were needed to operate the program? What types of skills did the employees need? What was the number of staff? Was the number of staff too many or too little? You can also report staff participant ratios and compare how labor intensive one program is compared to another. Evaluation data is a summative evaluation, a report of the program. Recommendations for future operation. Basically, you summarize and analyze the data included in the report and then recommend the future disposition of the program. There's generally three options: modify, repeat, or cancel. So the number of types of reports on programs, services that are required will vary by agency. This lack of consistency in part stems from the variety of operations that are called programs. This term may be used to describe the activities of a single day through the entire set of services offered by an agency. The printed brochure distributed by an agency to promote its summer services may have the title 2016 Summer Program, thus referring to the entire summer operation as a program. Yet, the recreation programmer may also indicate that the program at the senior center today is a bridge tournament, thus using the same term to describe a much smaller, more focused operation. In addition, the park and recreation professional may be required to produce reports that are less inclusive than what was described above. Usually, these would not be called comprehensive program reports because this term is reserved for reports that include a significant number of the features described above. Okay, and that concludes the section on, there's a big section, evaluate participant satisfaction program outcomes. Okay. It's 5:23 and we're doing pretty good. We're probably not going to finish this tonight though, I'm hoping. The next one is identify resources available for programming. Listed below are the primary resources, physical, fiscal, technological, and human, that need to be assessed by the park and recreation professional before designing a program. Okay, physical resources, not fiscal, physical. These include all areas, facilities, equipment, and supplies available to the park and recreation agency. So like areas and facilities, are there enough of them? Are they large enough? Are they located close enough? And are they accessible by the target market? Are they sufficiently developed for the activity intended? Next one is safe quality equipment. Are there enough pieces of equipment for each participant? Is it in good repair and safe to use? And then supplies. Are there a sufficient number of supplies needed to operate the program? Are they available on a timely basis? Are they of sufficient quality? Are they available at a cost that can be supported by the intended price for the program being developed? Then there's fiscal resources. And are there sufficient financial resources available to operate the program as intended? Is there a sufficient market to operate the program if it is a fee service? How can the demand on resources be decreased if needed? Are outside fiscal resources needed? Then there's technology resources. Is the necessary technology available? How can technology enhance the program, and how will it detract from the activity? Then human resources. Are there enough staff available to operate the program? Do the staff have the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed to operate the program? Are the staff available at the intended time and location of the program operation? Then that concludes that section. The next section is adjust programming as needed on available resources. So adjust programming as needed based on available resources. After the available programming resources have been identified, the park and recreation professional must carefully review these resources to determine if any programming adjustments are needed. In particular, an assessment and identification of the park and recreation agency's resources are needed before a recreation program can be successfully designed. A resource assessment analyzes the physical, fiscal, technological, and human resources needed to operate a specific program in order to determine if the agency can support the operation of the intended program. Most programs have a lower and upper enrollment limit. The lower limit is usually specified to ensure the economic efficiency of the program. The upper limit is often in place due to limited number of spaces, such as number of playing courts, etc., or qualified instructors to implement the program. For example, enrollments in an aerobics class may be limited by the number of aerobic studios available for instructional purposes, or because they don't have enough instructors to teach in the available space. Any resource necessary for the operation of a specific program could be a limiting factor. I'm losing people left and right. Way to hang in there, though, you four, I mean. All right, the next one is 5.I. So maintain customer relations, and this is like responding to customer concerns and requests for information. A part of quality customer service requires communicating effectively with the public and customers. This communication process is complex and multifaceted. It's also part of the overall customer service and marketing operations in the agency. There are several methods used to communicate with the public. In addition to these, speakers' bureaus, public meetings, and employee relations are a means of communication used. Responding to customer requests for information may mean giving information about yours or other agencies in town. Knowing what is happening in the community is essential. Here are a few tips for enhancing your agency's ability to provide information. And there are 4 of them. Ensure all front desk staff are well versed in the inner workings of the agency, since they are the first customers that first people that customers interact with. Next is to collect up-to-date information from similar service providers such as the local YMCA. This may be in the form of web addresses, program brochures, and then posting the links to their websites on your own website might reduce the number of calls received in the office. We would never do that, but apparently they do it somewhere in the nation. Next one is meet with similar service providers on a regular basis to update each other on programs, events. And the last one is do not view sharing information among agencies as competition, but rather as means of providing customer service. The next one is respond to customer concerns. So although dealing with complaints is never enjoyable, it should be seen as a positive for the organization and a means to maintaining customer relations. Oftentimes, when one person complains, there are several others who feel the same way but have not voiced their dissatisfaction. Successfully dealing with complaints is a public relations issue that impacts the credibility of the agency. How complaints are handled is most likely outlined in a policy manual and should be known by all staff. However, there are some basic steps that can be followed. So here's 5 steps. Receive the complaint without comment. Do not argue with the individual making the complaint. 2, acknowledge receipt of the complaint and inform the individual of the next steps, such as what will be done with the complaint and when they should expect to hear from the appropriate staff person. 3, forward the complaint to the appropriate staff person who is empowered to resolve the issue. 4, the person who supervises the area in question should resolve the complaint as quickly as possible. Complaints should be handled immediately. Those that are not appear to the public as unimportant to the agency. And then 5, follow up with the person making the complaint to ensure it was resolved to their satisfaction. Responding quickly and accurately to requests for information, concerns, and complaints from the public is an established standard of practice in most parks and recreation organizations. Providing accurate information or correcting misunderstandings are the 2 fundamental issues addressed in responding to the public. Agencies may also use the opportunity of responding to a citizen's request to draw attention to other services and facilities offered, and also to highlight upcoming specific projects, programs, or events, or even to impress the public with benefits offered by the agency to the community. And then lastly, you can even encourage public involvement as a volunteer for the agency. Turn a complainer into an advocate. That's what you want to try to do. Okay, and that concludes customer relations. Okay, the next one is market programs, such as advertising, promotional pieces, news releases, brochures, website content, social networking. Okay. So this is marketing programs is providing information to the public, and it's an important component of an agency's marketing efforts. The quantity, accuracy, and timeliness of the information are all vitally important. Public information services include the following means of communication and promotion. First one is advertising. So advertising is any form of paid communication through the media. This includes media such as radio advertisement, billboards, or newspaper ads. Selecting media is a challenge, but the best media selections are based on 4 considerations. First, media should be purchased with the preferences of the target market to be reached in mind. So what the target market watches, listens to, reads, and sees impact what is chosen for the media. So you wouldn't want to select a late night talk show for television advertising. For some it would be okay, but not for the senior population. These shows do not attract that older demographic. Secondly, the type of product or service may dictate the type of media purchased. So some products are best suited for television, while others thrive on radio. Third, the cost of the media will dictate the advertisement purchases. Some agencies just won't be able to afford television or radio, but could purchase ads in a newspaper. An annual marketing plan can help determine how best to spend budget advertising dollars. Lastly, media selections should be based on the message that is to be communicated. So, for example, if the agency is advertising the entire summer concert series, newspaper may not be the most logical choice because a list of bands can be included in the ad. I'm sorry, it may be the most logical choice because the list of bands can be included in the ad. It would most likely not be good use of money to list all the bands on a 30-second radio ad. That makes sense. That's a good example. Promotions have a financial value to the customer and are often used as a short-term method to stimulate use of a service or purchase of a product. These include promotional pricing, buy one, get one free, that kind of thing, free offers, or prizes and giveaways. T-shirts, miniature ball caps, basketballs, cups with game schedules on them, or bobblehead dolls are examples of prizes and giveaways. News releases. Organizations distribute news releases to the media containing information about upcoming programs, events, and activities. The ultimate purpose of the news release is to garner positive publicity for the agency. A news release follows a particular format and is written as a mini-story. Newspaper feature stories, television announcements, and radio announcements or interviews with the media are often initiated with a news release. Brochures and printed materials. Printed materials such as newsletters and brochures are increasingly being phased out as major communication tools. Replacing these are online communication tools. However, since a significant portion of the population does not have access to the internet, they are still vital to most agencies. Newsletter future happenings within the agency, including new programs, parks, or major changes in the agencies. A brochure, on the other hand, is typically program focused, outlining all the program and events offering for a given season. So there's a difference between a newsletter and a brochure that they give. Newsletters and brochures can be sent via direct mail to houses in the community, distributed through schools or local businesses, or posted online. Websites. A web presence is a must for parks and recreation agencies. Program offerings, parks, maps, volunteer opportunities, job postings, registration, and much more information is available on most websites. They're often most used source of information for the general public and must be kept up to date and made user-friendly for all populations. Social media has seen exponential growth in the past several years. Many agencies have a Facebook presence, advertising programs, and events. Twitter is used for short blasts of communication to the public in real time. LinkedIn is a means to connect professionals with each other as well as the community. Agencies are posting videos on YouTube and taking advantage of collaborative buying power of Groupon. Okay, and that concludes that section. The next section is perform group and individual participant assessments. So So assessment is a specific type of evaluation that is used prior to implementation of a program. Its role is to gather information about the wants and needs of the community in order to evaluate the worth of existing services or the lack thereof in order to make informed decisions about the services to be provided in the future. And we already talked about this a little bit, but assessing individual participant needs. So assessing participant needs in program development is done to custom tailor a program to the participants currently enrolled. Highlight that. It occurs once participants are registered for a program. An example would be an instructor assessing the skill levels of a class during the first evening of class. Although a basic curriculum guide may already be in place, it must be further adjusted to meet the needs of those enrolled in the class. As a result, the standard curriculum material may receive differing amounts of attention each time the class is taught to meet the needs of the current class participants. And then the content and extent of this assessment will then depend on the actual activity being offered. So now we're going into a section on assessing individuals with disabilities. We're still on assessments. Assessment is also the first step in preparing to deliver services to individuals with disabilities. Implementing the therapeutic recreation process includes 4 steps: assessment, planning, implementation, and evaluation. And it's known as APIE, pronounced API. Assessment is the first one, is the procedure for identifying and gathering information about a client's condition to create a baseline of information about their status so that meaningful decisions about their individual program plan may be made. Although assessment may result in labeling a client with a specific condition, this is not its primary purpose. 4 domains of client functioning are usually assessed: cognitive, social, physical, and affective or emotional. Each of these is a separate area for possible therapeutic recreation intervention. Each may also be an area of strength. So for planning purposes, the assessment should identify 3 types of information about the client. These are the problems and needs. The problems and needs is number 1. Number 2 is the strengths and abilities. And number 3 are the client's expectations. So for planning purposes, here they are. Problems and needs. Assessment should identify the client's problems that preclude their attaining the full functioning desired. The problems identified are limited to those the therapeutic recreation service can address, and they are said to be the client's needs. After assessment is complete, the therapeutic recreation services are directed towards focusing a client's participation in activities that will clarify the needs identified and documenting improvements from participation in the recreation service. Okay, although I have no idea what this word is, but I'll look it up. You can look it up too. It's amelioration, AMELIORATION, accommodation or improvement of these problems and resulting needs will become the focus of the treatment goals for the client. Additional information from the assessment is needed to properly prescribe a successful treatment plan. Okay, so I need to look that up and report out via email to you all. Okay, strengths and abilities. Even though the client has problems that may need treatment, they also have strengths and abilities. These two must be discovered during assessment because they will provide the basis for participation in the activities prescribed for the treatment. And then client expectations. Assessment should also identify the client's leisure interest. And in parentheses, they say the activities they previously participated in or those they intend to participate in. And in the parentheses. And their expectations or desires from participating in the therapeutic recreation program. In other words, what does the client want to be able to do that he or she cannot do now? The park and recreation professional must not impose his or her own goals for the treatment of the client, but rather discover the client's goals. Once the assessment is complete, a program plan is developed outlining the participant goals and objectives, programs, and overall treatment plan. The plan is implemented by a therapeutic recreation specialist or other qualified staff, and the outcomes are evaluated. Okay, the next section is, we're still in the same section though, I'm sorry. We're still in perform group and individual participant assessments. The next one is, the next subsection is collecting assessment data. The data generated from any assessment method will be either objective or subjective. Objective data are observable facts that can be noted regardless of who is conducting the investigation, meaning they are not subject to personal interpretation. Subjective data are subject to the personal interpretation of the individual collecting the data. Using standardized observation or interview techniques on training employees in their use will improve the reliability of data collection methods, thereby reducing their variability. Observing and interviewing are the two most frequently used methods for assessing individuals with disabilities. The following are brief examples of a variety of assessment methods used to implement therapeutic recreation. So this is more of an example of a couple lists, and it's not all the methods. Interview. Interviewing clients as well as significant others to assess the client's current situation is one of the most frequently used methods of assessment in therapeutic recreation. Interviewing is the primary method used to develop case histories of clients that recount key events in their lives that are pertinent. Developing a relationship with a client is also one of the purposes of an interview. Observation. Observing the client's leisure functioning while they are actually participating in recreation activities is also a frequently used method of assessment. There are a variety of observation methods ranging from casual observation to systematic, goal-oriented observations. Conventional methods also include the use of time series observations in which the client is observed on repeated occasions to note changes in key behaviors. Okay, assessment instruments. Assessment instruments are usually used to provide the park and recreation professional with information about the type and extent of the client's issues or provide them with the baseline data for use in documenting advances resulting from the treatment. Selection of a specific instrument is usually a function of the therapist's discipline training, the philosophy of the agency in which they work, the types of clients who are served by the agency, and the therapist's previous experience with an instrument. A variety of assessment instruments are used in the practice of therapeutic recreation. Some typical instruments used include the following. Okay, so I'm just going to say these, and I don't know what they are. I don't know that you need to know what they are, but they might ask you which ones they are. The first one is a leisure diagnostic battery. LDB is the acronym. The next one is a Monday recreation inventory. So that's MUNDY, Monday recreation inventory. The next one is a family leisure assessment, or FLAG for short. The next one is a recreation behavior inventory, RBI. The next one is a Miranda Leisure Interest Finder. That's spelled MIRENDA. Okay, secondary information sources may also use data developed by other caregiving professionals. So this data might include medical records, reports from social workers, reports from school nurses or school counselors, and other similar existing reports of a client's condition. Once developed, participant assessment data are used in the planning step to formulate individual behavior objectives. Then there's group needs assessment. So this is the last subsection here. In addition to people with disabilities, all other participants and community members may be assessed. Assessing general needs and wants in the community can be useful in determining what programs to offer teens, where parks are desired in the community, or what improvements could be made to a community center. This type of assessment data is collected via focus groups, public meetings, observations, interviews, and surveys or questionnaires. These methods were discussed earlier, but an additional means of collecting data, collecting assessment data, is the Citizen Advisory Committee. Citizen advisory committees are made up of community members who are either appointed or elected. They are to represent the community at large. These groups are advisory in nature and do not have much decision-making responsibility. The value of a citizen advisory committee is the connection of this group has with the community and the agency. They are often strong advocates for the agency's services, dedicated volunteers, and an effective sounding board for ideas the agency is considering implementing. Okay. I'm looking ahead here, and we have 9 more minutes and about another 6 pages to cover. So we're going to have to break this into 2 parts. We'll start operations next week. I think what I'm going to do, and I'm going to unmute everybody, get your opinion, because we only have 6 people. So we're going to stop at 5.1. I'm sorry, 5.L. And we're going to pick up where it says prepare programs and special events. And this one is, and then we'll take our test next week as well. So here's here's kind of the schedule, everybody, because I have my regular group here. We have operations is a huge section. It's going to take at least 2 sections. How would everybody feel if I just worked on pre-recording it and then just sent out the link to the recording? Then have everybody listen to it, and then we can cover any questions you might have on the final work week. What do you all think about that?
No, that sounds good. I agree.
I agree too.
that way everybody can do it at their own leisure. And but I do want to cover, if I can, the test in the book, the 50 questions. So what I'm going to do is, in looking at operations, there doesn't seem to be a lot of charts and graphs, but there is some of those. So I'm going to break it up into different sections, and then I'm going to do the reading part that doesn't require you guys to be on the line to look, and I'm just going to send that part out. And then what we probably need to go through, like a chart or graph in the book, I will have that at the next week.
Okay. Sounds good, bro.
Okay. That means that you'll have to listen to the recording, though, that I send out either late next week or the following weekend.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm still planning, though, on having next week so we can go over and finish this part of programming. But then I'll be doing, in the background, I'll be doing operations. So next week it'll be just an hour or so. Unless I have some things I want to cover in operations and start that. And that might just save us a whole week right there, too. Okay?
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So next week, we're going to finish programming and take the test. And then we're going to start operations, any part that needs an explanation on the, on Zoom. And then after that, I'll send out the recording. And then what we'll do is take the test the following, and if we're good and everybody's done this, we can just take the whole 50 questions either week after next or the third week from now. So we have three more meetings, I thought.
Okay.
Does that sound good to everybody?
Sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
Sounds good.
All right, any questions on anything?
Just on those discounted books, I know I logged in late last week. Is that a link we're going to get, or do we go through you?
Oh, yeah, on the books. I have, let's see. Shoni, you wanted one, right? Shoni? Oh, wait, she's muted. Hold on. Okay. Shoni, you wanted a book, right? Shoni?
She put it in the group chat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I have Shoni, I have Dee, I have Brandylin, I think, wanted one, Becky, and Alex. And nobody else wants one, right?
I have one already.
Okay, good. All right, good. Well, excellent. So let me stop. Any other questions? Oh, Becky, I don't know how the process will work yet. I have to tell Molly on Monday